And Jin Urso as a character, was that something that was in John's kind of high concept, or was that something that you had brought to the table with her and her father being part of the Empire, like engineering team actually putting all this stuff together?
So it came in stages. So John had the idea of Jin as this person who leads the rebel effort to steal the plans, and I was the one who kind of brought the Zero Dark, again, all the Zero Dark 30 stuff in the end didn't really make it into the movie. We kind of took it in a different direction. But the one big contribution that I would say that myself and I think Gareth made, because I remember we kind of came up with it collaboratively, was the idea that it was Jin's father who was the scientist who was co-opted and built into building the Death Star. And we kind of liked the idea there was almost this kind of element of like Greek tragedy to it. And it almost kind of felt like saga. We knew it wasn't a saga film, but how do you make it feel like it has that same energy? You know, all the saga films are obviously about family, right? It's a dynastic tragedy of the Skywalkers, and it's much about, it's very much about kind of Luke Skywalker kind of redeeming the sins of the father and redeeming the father himself. And that we like the idea of that having this similar energy, that the father had been forced to do this terrible thing to build the Death Star, and now it fell to the daughter to kind of redeem his sins by destroying it. But I love this idea. I used to be very, very online. I used to be on all the message boards, and a common meme, as I'm sure you know, is people used to love to say, well, if the Empire's so smart, how did they wind up with this ridiculously easy to exploit flaw, in the middle of this massive construction project? Mm-hmm. And I guess a lot of people just always thought it was an oversight. But I always loved the idea that it wasn't. It was it was put there deliberately literally as an act of rebellion. That this good man, this scientist who had been co-opted and forced by the Empire to build this monstrous weapon that he never wanted to build, had decided that he was going to get the better of them and very cleverly engineer in a way that was so subtle that no Imperial engineer would spot it. But he would build this exhaust port, this flaw, this kind of one kill button that you could push if you just knew where it was. And he had done that, but then the next part was, well, I need to tell the rebels where it is, and that means getting them the plan so they can exploit this flaw that I built into it for them. And that to me is still like one of my proudest things that we brought into the Star Wars canon was kind of retconning or reinventing why the exhaust port was there, that it wasn't a flaw, it wasn't just a fluke, it came from, again, it was kind of the original act of rebellion was to design this flaw into the Death Star, and then it fell to Jin and the heroes of the movie to kind of finish. He kind of hands the baton to you. I've taken you this far. I built the floor, but now you have to get the plans to the rebels so they can exploit it. And that's obviously what turned out to be the story of the movie.